From Taylor Swift to Justin Bieber and even Rosie O'Donnell, who was once considered one of Ellen's closest friends, several major names in Hollywood are now speaking out against Ellen DeGeneres, and many believe this wave of criticism is just getting started as more voices begin to surface, with claims growing louder that Ellen's career has already reached its end and that her alleged connection to Sean...
I called her out. I was like, Ellen's not that nice.
This was after you went on the show?
After I went on the show.
What was it like meeting Ellen? And is she a good person?
Let's just all go back to 2017, where I was the first person to call Ellen out before anyone else
You called her out?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I called her out. I was like, Ellen's not that nice.
This was after you went on the show?
After I went on the show. And the world blew up about it and was like so mad at me about it. And then someone else said it. And then it was like, oh my God, Ellen's not nice.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Why do you say she's not nice?
I can't explain it. It was just
an
really
energy?
weird. I ran into her like backstage. It was like an awkward thing. And like the producers were really scared. I was like, what's going on? They were like, that was not supposed to happen. We're going to get in trouble. It's like so weird. She was like, hey. It was like, I was like, oh, hi. Like, I was like, I'm so excited. And she was like,
Ellen DeGeneres launched The Ellen Show back in 2003 and gradually built a reputation as one of the nicest comedians in Hollywood, eventually becoming the face of daytime talk shows where almost every major celebrity made an appearance. But after 19 seasons and nearly 2 decades on air, the show came to a sudden end following serious allegations of workplace misconduct and harassment, with employees who had worked alongside her for over 10 years claiming that behind the scenes she was completely different from the kind and caring image she presented to the public, describing that persona as misleading and far from reality. And as these claims gained attention, an independent investigation looked into the situation and reportedly confirmed that there were real issues within the workplace environment. And although Ellen attempted to move forward and repair her image, the impact of those accusations had already taken hold, prompting her to address the situation in a letter to her staff, where she responded to reports of mistreatment and shared her initial reaction to the statements made by current and former employees, while also outlining steps that were being considered to improve the company culture, explaining that she was
stay grateful and I try to stay humble, and I think that I pay attention to what is important and what is real.
These misconduct allegations came from a recent article published by BuzzFeed, which featured anonymous accounts from around a dozen former employees
mocking other
and one current
celebrities
staff member,
and digging into
all
everyone's
sharing their
private
experiences
lives.
working behind
And this
the
is when
scenes.
she realized
And for many
that
observers,
no one really
the end
liked
of the
her.
Ellen
And I think
Show
that I
also
pay
marked the
attention to what is
collapse of
important
Ellen
and what is
DeGeneres'
real.
career.
These
As critics
misconduct
pointed out that
allegations
she had
stem
spent
from a
years joking
BuzzFeed
about other
article that was
celebrities
published
and
last
diving
week,
into their
which
personal
included
lives,
anonymous
only to face
accounts from a
intense scrutiny
dozen
herself
former and
when public
one current
opinion began to
employee.
shift, and it became
An
clear
investigation
that her
into Ellen
likability was
revealed
being
that there was
questioned,
significant
while others argued
happening
that it was not
backstage,
just the
and employees
allegations
were
that
being
damaged her
silenced.
reputation, but the
Just
growing
like the
belief
rest
that
of
she
us,
had
our first
carefully
guest was
crafted a
heartbroken
public
to hear that
image
Adam
that did
Levine
not
got
match her
married.
real
Take a look.
behavior, with claims suggesting she presented a version of herself that was designed to appeal to audiences rather than reflect who she truly was. And long before she launched her own show, Ellen was known to be close friends with Rosie O'Donnell, but according to reports, once she achieved major success, that relationship changed dramatically, with accusations that she distanced herself and even acted as if she no longer knew Rosie at all. Ellen's employees were not the only ones who had negative experiences with Ellen DeGeneres, as her on-screen jokes and remarks eventually came back to affect her after The Ellen Show ended, with several major Hollywood figures publicly speaking out and sharing their own perspectives, including Taylor Swift, who explained that Ellen often put her in uncomfortable situations by joking about her dating life and pushing narratives she did not want to discuss. And even though Taylor made it clear more than once
We
that
thought
she
we'd
was
seen
not
the worst of
comfortable
the
with
Ellen
those
allegations,
conversations,
but new
Ellen
information
continued to
has
laugh
since
and
dropped
carry
that
on
has
with the
shocked
topic,
everyone
which
to its
only
core.
added to the awkwardness
There are
of
now
the
reports
moment,
that Ellen
leading
was
many
not only
viewers to
party
later
to Epstein's
revisit those
Pizzagate
interviews
cult,
and point
but
out how
also the
uneasy
Wayfair
Taylor seemed
conspiracy
during
and the
those
death of an
exchanges, with
ex-girlfriend
some even
other than
calling the
Anne
Ellen Show
Hetchay.
one of the
Just like
places
the
where
rest
she
of us,
faced
our first
repeated
guest was
uncomfortable
heartbroken to hear that
situations,
Adam Levine
and
got
highlighting
married.
multiple
Take a look.
instances where Ellen's approach made the interactions feel tense rather than lighthearted.
Does your boyfriend like the way it smells?
I don't have one. I keep telling you that.
Just trying.
Like, I just don't.
All right.
Like, it's not, like, if I didn't and I was like, I don't have a boyfriend, like, you'd know I had a boyfriend. I don't have someone that I'm texting that's a guy that might someday be my boyfriend. There's, like, nothing going on right now. I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a while because we didn't date.
Yes, you did. Why do you deny it?
Because we didn't.
Okay, so which song is about Zach on the new CD?
There's nothing really about Zach on the CD because we didn't date.
All right.
So, Yeah.
Okay. When you have spare time, you drive past your ex-boyfriend's houses.
I'm not like throwing eggs. It's
Right.
I'm just checking up on them.
Checking up on what the front of their house looks like?
Well,
or,
it's
what are you
really
gonna
like an
see?
act of public service, you know? I'm just seeing if they're okay.
Are you, so you have unresolved business? You still have crushes on your ex?
No.
So what are you doing?
I don't know.
In an interview with
thank all
Zane
of you
Lowe
for
for
watching.
Apple Music, Taylor Swift looked back on that same moment and openly criticized Ellen DeGeneres' behavior, making it clear that the experience had stayed with her and reinforcing the idea that Ellen's past remarks were now resurfacing and affecting how
times. So I can't, like, you know, when I was like 23 and people were just like kind of reducing me to like kind of making slideshows of like my dating life and putting people in there that I'd sat next to at a party once and deciding that my songwriting was like a trick rather than a skill and a craft. Kind of, it's a way to take a woman who's doing her job and succeeding at doing her job and making things, and it's in a way it's figuring out how to completely minimize that skill by taking something that everyone, you know, in their darkest moments loves to do, which is to slut shame. And so now when I see this happening, I can see a headline about a young artist, about a young female artist, about like another breakup, and it sends me into
It takes you back there to a degree?
It sends me into a real sad place because I don't want that to keep happening. And I don't think people understand how easy it is to infer that someone who's a female artist or a female in our industry is somehow doing something wrong by wanting love, wanting money, wanting success. Women are not allowed to want those things.
when Ellen DeGeneres made jokes about and just shake me till you wake me from this bad dream. I'm going down. And I just can't believe my first love will be around and I'm like, Hollywood from a very young age under constant public pressure. And if you look back at how Ellen interacted with him during that period, some viewers believe it is clear that he seemed uncomfortable in those
Justin
situations.
Bieber breaking his
Particularly
silence
in
on the ordeal after
2015, when
months of
paparazzi
speculation
secretly took
over their one-time
non-consensual
relationship.
intimate Kathy Griffin, known for her sharp celebrity-focused stand-up, her television appearances, and her reality series Kathy Griffin.
Funny to me that
My
Barbra
Life on the
Streisand thinks she
D-List
has a good side.
also spoke out against Ellen DeGeneres, claiming that many people within the comedy industry were already aware of what she was really like behind the scenes. And according to these claims, Ellen was not widely liked within those circles.
I just love giving Ellen because it just never gets old. She just can't stand it. She has no sense of humor about herself. We had a fight one time that was a knockdown drag out, screaming on the phones, both of us screaming. And I think that's so fucking funny. Like, picture Kathy Griffin and Ellen DeGeneres split screen.
What are you
both
yelling
with
about?
our cell phones and assistants screaming at each other.
Over what?
She thought Joan Rivers was not funny, but Joan was just mean. And I think Joan was not only not mean, but she was a genius, but also that Ellen kind of owed part of her career to the fact that Joan was the first woman to have a talk show, broke the glass ceiling for women in talk, whether you like her or not.
Without a shadow of a doubt, every female comedian to ever step up to a mic or tell a joke.
And by the way, Joan would thank Phyllis Diller. Phyllis Diller would thank Moms Mabley. Moms Mabley and Toady Fields. Like, we're pretty good about
that
knowing,
gave me chills in a weird way.
Yeah. And so anyway, I just make fun of Ellen because she doesn't take it well. And I just get a kick out of it. And she'll never see it. She's not the type of person that would watch my special.
Yeah, I'm talking about Ellen DeGeneres. Now I have to just come
was not
clean.
nice to you?
Well, here's the thing. In my very last dinner with Joan Rivers, we would always check in with each other. And I'd be like, where are you with Ellen? And she'd be like, oh, still hates me. And she'd go, well, what about you? And I'd say, oh, she thinks I'm mean. And the truth is, I guess I feel like I'm sticking up for a pal. Like, I think Ellen's achievements are fantastic. How could I not? But, you know, like I said, there's so few female comics over 50 that are making a living or doing okay. Like, we need to support each other. And I just thought, what am I waiting for? But almost every time Joan Rivers and I would get together, we'd be like, anything from Ellen? No. You? No. And it wasn't like, it was more like, I wish we were better at supporting each other. But also, of course, I don't like being labeled as mean. Mean and funny, fine. But I can just tell you for a fact, Joan Rivers didn't have a mean bone in her body. And I wish Ellen would have really celebrated her more because Ellen has such an amazing, incredible platform. And she's such a true influencer. And, Joan broke the glass ceiling for women talk show hosts, for sure.
Insisted in conversation that she was aware of what went on at his parties, which led some people online to speculate about connections within Hollywood circles, though these claims remain unproven and widely debated, while comedian Cat Williams also shared stories suggesting that only a select group of trusted individuals were allowed into Diddy's private after-parties, recalling a moment where he said he had to wait outside while certain high-profile guests were allowed inside. And within those discussions, some have alleged that Ellen may have been among those invited, although there is no confirmed evidence to support. Some investigative journalists have also tried to connect the end of Ellen DeGeneres' show to the so-called Epstein files, pointing to reports from 2022 when the Federal Bureau of Investigation stated that a black book linked to Jeffrey Epstein and his network of contacts had been discovered, though the details and implications of that list have remained widely debated and not fully confirmed in public reporting, while others have focused on the timing of Ellen's decision to leave the United States.
They're losing their minds.
She sounded so sincere, didn't she?
Very sincere.
Virtually choke on her words. But the best one for me is Ellen DeGeneres, who is, by the way, a very nasty person. I've had dealings with her in Australia.
Bit of
could I tell you some stories about that cow? But anyway, good riddance to her. But she was quite friendly with that P. Diddy bloke, wasn't she?
Well, this is why I say release the Diddy files.
Yeah.
Release the Diddy files. Come on, Donald Trump. We want to know whose name.
So maybe she's hightailing out of there before all that is thrown at her as well. But what a bunch of hypocrites.
Reports circulating online have claimed that Ellen DeGeneres and her wife Portia de Rossi reportedly left the United States and headed toward the United Kingdom following what some outlets described as Donald Trump's political victory, with several publications repeating claims that the couple had made a permanent move out of the country and had also placed their Montecito mansion, located in Montecito, California, USA, on the market, while entertainment outlet The Wrap was cited in these discussions as stating that Ellen DeGeneres and Portia de Rossi had relocated to rural England, listed their Montecito estate for sale, and intended never to return to the United States, allegedly telling people close to them that the election of Donald Trump was a major factor in their decision.
Ellen DeGeneres has been seen rocking a new hair color since moving to the UK. The comedian changed her signature blonde look to brunette as she was seen enjoying a night out with friends at a pub called The Farmer's Dog. Ellen went out with her wife, Portia de Rossi, and a few friends, including the Torn singer Natalie Imbruglia. Sources told TMZ earlier this week that Ellen and Portia moved to England because of Donald Trump's re-election. They have reportedly settled into their new home in the southwest region of England, but they purchased the property before the election.
Supporters of these theories claim that the set of Ellen DeGeneres' studio was intentionally designed to resemble structures associated with the island linked to Jeffrey Epstein, although these comparisons are based on online interpretations rather than verified architectural evidence. And beyond the set design, some internet sources have also pointed to what they describe as hidden symbolism within her content, including a video released in March 2020 during the early stages of global lockdown, where Ellen appeared wearing a hoodie featuring a red-stained face design, which later sparked unrelated online discussions connecting similar imagery to other public figures such as Jay-Z, while critics of these interpretations argue that such claims are speculative and lack factual grounding. But supporters insist there is a deeper pattern and often repeat the idea that everything is connected, even when clear evidence is not provided. And some of these analyses also involve close examination of images taken from Ellen's home, where viewers claim to notice framed artwork and objects in the background, interpreting phrases like evil thoughts with revenge and comparing letter shapes to practices associated online with performance artist Marina Abramovich, and the concept of spirit cooking, while also referencing appearances by Lady Gaga.
Look at it.
Oh, well, you know where that is too, right? The similar image to that, right?
No.
I know Jamie does.
What is it?
It's on the set of a famous talk show that's now not on anymore.
Oh, Ellen? Was that Ellen?
Yeah.
Really?
Just look at the temple and then look at the...
Let me see Ellen's background. What?
As if all of this was not enough, just a few months after the Ellen show came to an end. A former executive producer who had worked closely with Ellen DeGeneres for several years, Stephen T. Witchboss, tragically died in 2022, an event that shocked many people in the entertainment industry, and it was widely reported that he had taken his own life, leaving behind a note for his wife that referenced feeling overwhelmed by a heavy personal burden he felt unable to fully explain. and in some discussions online, it has been claimed that he suggested some of his struggles were connected to the time he spent working on The Ellen Show, although these interpretations are highly sensitive, not fully verified in detail, and often discussed without full context. And many people have also emphasized the importance of treating his passing with care and avoiding speculation, since mental health struggles are complex and cannot be reduced to simple or unconfirmed explanations tied to any single workplace or public figure.
Early on the morning of Tuesday, December 12, Twitch packed a small bag with only a change of clothes and his handgun, slipped out of his house without telling Allison, turned his phone to airplane mode so he couldn't be tracked, and took an Uber to the Oak Tree Inn, a dreary two-story motel in a hacienda-style building on heavily trafficked Ventura Boulevard, just a mile from his house, and paid $107 to reserve a room for a single night. Twitch made his way down to room 249 and let himself in. Allison reported to police that Twitch was missing shortly after he had left the house, noting with particular worry that she couldn't reach him by phone and he had not taken his car with him when he left, two things that she said were very much out of character for him.
Because there were no details about Twitch's death, people just rushed to fill that void. This was at the time when Ellen had built this edifice as the nicest person on television. She would have YouTube stars, and all of a sudden that edifice was crumbling.
Ellen DeGeneres did share public posts and videos reacting emotionally to the death of Stephen T. Witchboss, expressing grief and sadness over the loss, but later claims circulating online suggested contradictions in how certain events were described in legal or public discussions, although these claims are often fragmented and not always supported by clear or verified court records, and they remain widely debated depending on the source being referenced. While in 2024, Ellen released a Netflix comedy special titled Ellen DeGeneres, for your approval, where she addressed aspects of her public image and criticism through humor, and some viewers interpreted parts of her stand-up as being defensive or self-aware about past controversies involving former employees, though opinions on the tone of the material vary significantly, with some seeing it as satire and others viewing it as inappropriate given the seriousness of earlier workplace allegations. And overall, the situation has been heavily discussed online, where emotions around grief.
Is Ellen DeGeneres rewriting history? That's what some of her former staffers claim she's doing in her new Netflix stand-up special, For Your Approval.
I got kicked out of show business. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, because I'm mean. Yeah. Yeah, you can't be mean and be in show business. No, they'll kick you out.
She uses jokes to address the controversy.
I was in therapy for a while trying to deal with all the hatred that was coming at me. And at one point, my therapist said, "Ellen, where do you get this idea that everyone hates you?" And I said, well, New York Times, Washington Post, Entertainment Weekly, Us Weekly. I think Elmo may have said something recently on an episode of Sesame Street.
But this producer who worked with her takes issue with how she's addressing allegations that there was a toxic work environment at her legendary talk show.
The essence of the special really was totally a lie.
Hedda Muscat says Ellen's special hits all the wrong notes.
Ellen DeGeneres did share public posts and videos reacting emotionally to the death of Stephen T. Witchboss, expressing grief and sadness over the loss, but later claims circulating online suggested contradictions in how certain events were described in legal or public discussions, although these claims are often fragmented and not always supported by clear or verified court records, and they remain widely debated depending on the source being referenced. While in 2024, Ellen released a Netflix comedy special.
There is an arrogance that some stars had, like particularly in the 90s. When I first came to Hollywood, and this is like really evident for me because I was not a star, but I was on a television show. So I got to be around a lot of stars. And there was a way that some of them would treat you. They would let you know that you are subhuman. You are below them. They would communicate with you in the most disrespectful and dismissive ways, like weird, like mousy guys that I could like instantly, and they would just be rude to you in a really weird way because they had power. They had power, and then when an executive would come over, they would turn on the charm. They'd be smiling and laughing, and then you would talk to them at the craft service, and they would dismiss you in the shittiest ways. I encountered a bunch of that.
Yeah,
it was commonplace. And it was, I think, a thing that they aspire to.
It's so weird when you see, like,
a lot of people saying that someone who seems so nice is not nice at all.
She doesn't seem nice, but that's people have a very poor judge of character. She doesn't seem nice. It seems forced. People that are like that all the time, she doesn't seem nice. It's very forced. And whatever, you're allowed to be a bitch, right? You're allowed to be a bitch. You're allowed to be nasty to people. You're accomplished. You're a comedian. You did the whole thing. What you're not allowed to do is have a Guantanamo Bay situation in the backstage of your show where everybody's walking around afraid for their life. And it's like Abu Ghraib where they're hooked up to wires and they
Dogs
have like,
around them.
yeah, she's got dogs and hoods. If an intern's late, they have a hood on. I don't support that. That's just me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you.
All of this is being framed around Ellen DeGeneres, who built a public image for years as someone known for kindness and positivity on television, but critics and commentators have often contrasted that on-screen persona with behind-the-scenes allegations that emerged later, and in broader entertainment discussions, podcast host Joe Rogan has spoken in general terms about Hollywood culture, suggesting that some public figures may present a friendly image while still maintaining emotional distance or treating others in a more hierarchical way within the industry, which has fueled online debates about how celebrity culture operates. Although these statements are broad opinions rather than specific confirmed claims about any single individual, and as a result, discussions around Ellen's workplace reputation have often become tied to wider arguments about Hollywood behavior in general, with some people believing her public image did not match private accounts, while others argue that the situation has been exaggerated and shaped heavily by media narratives and online commentary.
What, Ellen?
Ellen was like really weird and not nice to me for most of my career. And like, because I opened for her in the 1980s.
Oh, you did?
When she was a headliner in comedy clubs and not way before her big fame. And so then when I would do later, when I would do her talk show in the 2000s, she acted like we just met. And I'm like, bitch, what?
One of those times.
I'm like, what? Like, that's weird. Like,
Right.
it's like, we go way back. What? Bitch, like, it's so creepy and weird. But, you know, also, the other thing was David Bowie had been on the show, and he was so excited that the night before that I had come to his show wearing this giant Chinese emperor outfit. He was really thrilled about it, and he talked at length about it. And she cut it out of the show, which made me so mad. And the producer, who's a really good friend of mine, had to call me and tell me, I can't believe she did this, but she cut it out of the show. But you need to know that he was going on and on about your outfit. He loves you. God said your name.
So
which is so rude.
That is so gross.
I don't know if it was personal. Maybe it was for time.
Right.
But still, I'm going to take it
still.
personally just because I decided to.
You should have sent her a note and said, send me the footage. I'll post it to my YouTube.
I know it exists somewhere.
In June 2025, Margaret Cho spoke on The Kelly Mantle Show about her past interactions with Ellen DeGeneres, describing their history in a negative light and alleging that Ellen was often distant and unkind toward her throughout different stages of her career, despite the fact that Cho had supported Ellen early on and even opened for her in comedy clubs during the 1980s. And she also claimed that certain moments involving appearances on television were edited in ways that changed the original context, including a segment where praise from David Bowie about Cho's outfit was reportedly cut from the final broadcast. And these comments added to ongoing public discussions about how past professional relationships in comedy and television have been remembered and reinterpreted over time.
Didn't have to go down this way. She could have been brilliantly talented in front of the camera and carried that backstage, and she didn't. Every Friday we were shaking, who's going to get fired this Friday?
6, it makes sense why many of Ellen DeGeneres' former employees were reportedly not willing to publicly testify on her behalf, as numerous accounts from staff members have described a workplace environment they felt was difficult and, at times, humiliating, with some alleging that Ellen could be harsh toward people working under her. And over time, the concern for many observers has shifted from focusing on a single awkward interview or isolated rude joke to what they they see as a broader pattern of behavior, including celebrity interviews that resurfaced, workplace allegations from former staff, and ongoing public debate about her professional relationships and reputation, while some online discussions also link unrelated Hollywood narratives together, such as references to industry connections or timing of major personal decisions, even though these claims are often speculative and not independently verified, and as a result, the conversation around Ellen has become increasingly shaped by interpretation and revisiting old moments through a modern lens, which has made the original Be Kind image more controversial in hindsight for some viewers. In a related context, television DJ Tony Okingboa, who worked closely on The Ellen Show for many years, addressed allegations about the workplace culture and described it as toxic in his own experience, while also acknowledging the opportunity the show gave him and expressing support for former colleagues who spoke out about improving conditions, and his comments were later discussed alongside statements from other former staff members, including producers such as Ellen L. Muscat, who were also reported in media coverage as having raised concerns about how issues were handled behind the scenes, contributing to the wider public conversation about management and workplace culture on long-running television productions.